All right, thank you for staying with Citizen TV. We are wrapping up this discussion on tracing the COVID-19 millions. Honorable Samson Cherargei is still with me, Nandi Senator, and Honorable John Kagusha is still with me also, Nyeri County Assembly Speaker, and Steve Ogola, Advocate of the High Court, is still with me on this discussion. And Cherargei, there's a question here for you. So, a tweet from the Deputy President, William Samoei Ruto here, says that the corruption consultants, brokers, and conmen, some bankrupt in 2013, are now billionaires after looting while scapegoating William Samoei Ruto. Their overgrown impunity is shamelessly making them steal even from the sick in a pandemic. The end is nigh, nowhere to hide, no more scapegoating. He further says that matters of accountability are not issues that can be negotiated or explained about using other ways other than the law. Those engaging in the misappropriation of public resources must be held liable. Immediately after that, Engineer Lazaro here on Twitter says, Kenya soon might lose the war on graft just because of politics. Why only lawmakers affiliated to Tanga Tanga baying for CS Kagwe's blood?
I want to agree with the tweet from His Excellency, the Deputy President. He has been very specific that it should be dealt within the law. And I think that is very important. He says any person who is found culpable, the law must deal with them. Secondly, I have had one of your Twitter there that we are not, I think he should get a praise because even the religious leaders have even issued a statement the other day demanding that the CS in charge of health, Mutahi Kagwe and PS Mojaji should step aside. Even we have had Kenya National Union of Nurses, led by Mr. Seth Panyako, calling upon resignation and even ordinary Kenyans. So trying to point that Tanga Tanga allied members of parliament are begging for his blood is neither here nor there. That's a wild goose chase and they are trying. So I think the Deputy President, and you know, secondly, when he talks about the law there, you have to appreciate favor that many people used to steal, used to do corruption cases against and allege that the Deputy President as a scapegoat. But when now that the Deputy President has been busy serving Kenyans in a different way, and these people are now naked, they have been exposed, and these are the people who are connected even to the highest office in the land. So I think what is important, and the Deputy President has said in that tweet, is that the rule of law must be followed. And I agree with him totally that anybody, because that is the minimum we can do in this fight against corruption. Let everybody have their day in court. Let the judicial process be followed. And I want to agree with Speaker Kagusha when he says that we can easily track the money. I think there is asset recovery through within the Attorney General's office and even the DPP. We can use that law of asset recovery to track some of those money that may have been stolen from Kemsa, and even property, and even any iron vehicles that have been acquired through the money. And it is easy even buying property. I think the asset recovery can do that. Okay. So I agree totally. And I think now it is good Kenyans to know who the real thieves are. In the past, many allegations, even the newspaper headlines and even the media houses have been running scapegoating using the name of the Deputy President to try and implicate him in some of corruption allegations that do not even exist. Okay,
let's shift gears now and talk about this revenue divide. No formula yet. And I want to bring in...
Trevor, I think before you move there, I just want to point out on the issue of the county funds.
Yes, Kagusha.
Go ahead. And because also Senator has clearly pointed out that I also need to give leadership to the County Assembly of Nyeri. And maybe, Trevor, you probably also need to inform Senator that last week on Monday, we were here before the report on COB was released. We were here on this show and we were looking at the Nyeri County Assembly report on COVID-19 preparedness. Brilliant. And probably Nyeri County Assembly probably being the only county assembly in Kenya to have proactively come forward to investigate, to set an inquiry through an ad hoc committee, which I led myself, to be able to see how the funds have either been used or have not been used or are being planned to be used. And of course, what we discovered is that the budget allocation rather the money that we had received in the county, and that has happened in all the other counties, had not been used for about 3 months. And of course, when we inquired on how the money was to be used, then of course we realized that it was not to be used in the right manner, and what we believed to be taking care of the core issues. And as a county assembly, we put our foot down and we said, no, it cannot be, our money and public money will not be used in that direction. And we addressed the issue with the governor. And we are happy because we have seen very positive response coming from the governor, County of Nyeri. And now we see a lot of this money now being directed towards acquisition of core equipment for handling and fighting COVID-19. So I would want to say that it is a big shame that out of the 47 counties, 8 counties had not touched a single cent to prepare for COVID-19.
Okay.
And out of maybe the 16 county government that had used well over 50% of the money that they had been allocated, a lot of them had also used that money in non-core issues. You know, buying of linen, paying transport, airtime, paying electricity bills and all that. And yet they have well-established budgets to cater for that. So I want to say that we need to be vigilant at all levels. And as a Nyeri County Assembly, I can say we are very vigilant, and that will be done without blinking an eye and ensuring that public funds are actually used in the right manner.
Okay. We will get into that discussion, I'm sure about it, even after the Senate Ad Hoc Committee gives us the report. But now let's talk about the issue of the revenue divide, and that's a part where I want to bring in Steve Ogola on this. So Senator Cherargei is one of the senators, he's with us now, but we will give him the last chance to speak on this because first, he's the one we are going to judge now. Stephen Ogola, what do you think of the senator's performance when it comes to the revenue divide?
Chaotic, uninformed, and disappointing. Chaotic because the formula and the principle undergirding division of revenue or sharing of revenue as against the counties is already outlined in Article 203, Trevor. What do these senators want? I mean, funding follows functions. This is carefully outlined. I like the argument of 1 shilling, 1 man, but that is not the only principle or core argument. The reason why we have devolution is to disperse resources to the counties and to bring equity and equalization to the marginalized areas. So if senators, and I differ very sharply with Senator Cherargei because he's one of the ardent supporters or proponents of this population-based approach, there is need for careful balance. There is no level of articulation that is outside the Constitution, Trevor. So it's chaotic, it's disappointing, because the senators are not telling, following this debate now for, I think, close to 1 month, Kenyans might be forgiven to think that the monies that are being debated over are in hundreds of billions. We're talking about less than 16.1% of the total national revenue going to the counties, 316 billion or thereabouts. 316 billion is less than what some of the core ministries like Ministry of Health, Internal Security are controlling. Senators needed to finalize this conversation quickly, and they needed now to agonize how do we now deepen the discourse on devolution, dispersal of resources, if you are arguing over less than 16.1% of national revenue. When will you overcome your own personal challenges as an institution, your own institutional challenges, and begin engaging the national government on how to raise the monies allocated to the counties? I think it's very disappointing that the Senate is unable to resolve this matter. Senator Cherargei told us yesterday that there is smoke, but it's not white smoke. There is smoke, but it's not white smoke because they still have 2 formulas. If you follow what experts said, we have experts like Professor Mutaya Kangu that designed article chapter 11 on devolved government. We have experts like Dr. David Ndi that designed chapter 10 on public finance, chapter 12 on public finance. They have said funding follows functions, and the only critical ingredient to follow is to ask yourself when you're dispersing funding, when you're dispersing funds to the counties, is that look at the population, look at the development disparity, look at other needs like land mass, land area. All these factors articulated under Article 203 are supposed to help us build consensus quickly.
Okay.
I hope that Senator Cherargei will tell us how long Kenyans should wait before we see the white smoke, as he put it yesterday.
Okay. Let me bring in Kagusha on this. Kagusha, you know, Narok Senator Ledama Olekina tweeted yesterday and said that we have betrayed Kenyans as leaders, the executive, the parliament, and judiciary. Please forgive us and pray for us like you are cursing us.
But how do we forgive them when they have not even decided to resolve this matter that badly affects our devolution? In fact, I would agree with my brother Ogola that there's an affront to devolution. It's and I think it's calculated, it's deliberate. I do not think in any way this is just a coincidence. It's something that has been very well orchestrated to ensure that devolution and devolved units are completely incapacitated to make them fail to function. As we talk today, we are in September. The only money that was ever released to the counties is that billion that was from 2019. And as we talk today, counties have not received any money, and we have no hope that a lot of counties are even going to pay their salaries. We are still having basic survival issues. And of course, you see this also now affects even delivery of services, including the health service that we so much need at this time. And so I think there's an affront to devolution. It's very shameful and embarrassing that Senate has failed to offer leadership. And the fact that they have failed to come to a consensus for this long is a clear indication that Senate is not operating on its own evolution. It is depending and getting more instructions from external forces than it is deciding to resolve this matter amicably within the file and ranks of Senate. And I think the moment you expose yourself too much to the external forces, then you are likely not to deliver your constitutional mandate as expected, as enshrined in the law. And for that reason, I would say, yes, they have let us down. Yes, they are embarrassed about it. And no, we are not going to be forgiving them until they resolve this matter and they show leadership and they ensure that the matter is amicably resolved for our devolved units to get a new lease of life. There was the argument that 50% of the budget should be released to the counties as this row ensues. But you see, nobody has committed themselves to have this done. And so for that reason, Treasury has refused to release the funds to the counties. And this is truly it's having a very negative impact on our counties. And I want to ask Honorable Gerald Guy that let him help us with the other senators to ensure that they resolve this matter once and for all.
Okay. Cherargei, are you deliberately incapacitating counties? Because I know now that the senators are proposing a 50% revenue allocation based on the previous budget. But we know that the recurrent expenditures only in the counties are beyond 70%. So that 50% will not even help anyway. Are you deliberately incapacitating the counties as senators?
I think we are not. And I think there is a lot of misunderstanding of what is happening at the moment. Article 203, Article 217 of the Constitution is very clear that after every 5 years, the Senate must sit and come up with a revenue basis for the next 5 years. So in case we pass any formula next week or in the future, that will run up to 2024, 2025, and maybe the Senate then will come up with another 5-year plan for the sharing of revenue. And that one is enshrined. It is the constitutional obligation of the Senate. I agree Kenyans would have seen that we should have expeditiously been able to resolve this issue. I think another aspect is that it is sad, I agree with my colleagues, the panelists, that we are discussing 316.5 billion, yet the national budget is, the total country budget is about around 3 trillion of Kenya shillings. So that is a big issue. Number two, if we had raised this shareable revenue up to around 325 billion. As a Senate, you remember, and it is in record, that as a Senate, we had proposed 335 billion before the Council of Governors rushed through the IPEC and agreed with the National. And I blame the Council of Governors and the National Assembly for not allowing our proposal that we had carefully thought that if we had 335 billion being shareable revenue among counties would not be where we are. Secondly, I want to say that, the recommendations or the amended CRA formula, and many Kenyans should know this, there is no CRA formula on the floor of the House. What we have is a committee report on the amended CRA formula before the House. And there are parameters. I've had my brother Ogola talking about the parameters. If you look at the breakdown, and I think in future, Trevor, when we have more time, we should take Kenyans through the parameters. We have used the issue of population, issue of roads, issue of land area, which we have capped at 7%. We have also issue of fiscal effort, fiscal prudence, among other parameters that have been factored in that issue. And that is why, for example, Nandi is leading in the amended CRA formula by the Finance and Budget Committee to 1.4 billion, being followed by other counties. So what I can say, we have not failed the country. I want to assure Kenyans that when you are sharing resources, Trevor, you are aware it's a very emotive issue. And why do we in a hurry, and yet we have agreed as a Senate that even if there is any specific formula that will pass today, it will not affect the allocation of this financial year. Yeah. So if there are any losses or gains, it will not affect this financial year of 2020-2021. It will take over from maybe 2021-2022 going forward. Okay. Secondly, the issue of allocation to funds. The Supreme Court and even the Public Finance Management Act that has been access to 15%, is that the reason counties have not received money, and I want to say that the National Treasury is taking advantage of the situation because they don't have any legal basis why they can withhold the funds being released to the counties. But albeit may it be, as I said yesterday, next week when we resume on Tuesday, we are likely to pass the County Allocation Revenue Act so that counties access 50% of their previous financial year allocation and be able to move with what they are supposed to do. But on the issue of formula, we'll still hold forth, we'll still continue to engage, to consent. But I want to say finally, so that Kenyans can understand, this third basis formula is a formula that will correct an injustice that were committed against populous counties in the country.
What do you mean by an injustice against populous counties?
For example, I can give you a county like Mandera. In 2009, they had 1.2 million residents. In 2019, they had 850,000 residents. It means that you can't tell me around 400,000 plus people died within 10 years. So they have been receiving money of 400,000 people who do not exist, and that is what we want to correct. So those are some of the corrective measures we are taking and ensuring that other counties, and I agree with my co-panelists, we should use the issue of principle of equity. Secondly, Nandi has the same population as Mandera, yet Mandera receives 10.4 billion, Nandi receives 5.5 billion, 5.3 billion through equitable sharing revenue. Even if you are to add 1 billion to Nandi, they will come at 6 billion, and Mandera will still be ahead by 9 billion, which is 3 billion more than Nandi. That's still a lot of money that they can use to develop and ensure that. And then finally, if you see these counties that are receiving huge allocation of money, you can go even to the Auditor General's office. It is a public office. There is an Auditor General report. Most of these counties, you call them marginalized, are under-observing their budget. Their budgets are being under-observed to the tune of billions of shillings, over 1 billion. So it seems they are taking too much that they can't observe within, and it seems that they are having too much that they can't observe within their development budget and the current budget.
All right, gentlemen, we have to leave the discussion there because we run out of time. The Honorable Samson Cherargei, Nandi Senator, and Honorable John Kagusha, Nyeri County Assembly Speaker, and Steve Ogola, Advocate of the High Court. Thank you so much for speaking to us this morning. We are calling this State of the Nation. We'll continue with it again next week. We'll probably call you back and see if there's any developments at the Senate or anywhere else for that matter. Thank you so much for speaking to us this morning. That's where we leave that discussion for now. Let's bring up some of your feedback before we usher in Chef Ali with breakfast tips. We have another feedback here from Kwondo, I believe. He says, what would you be investigating without detailed information about what is stolen? It is only professional audit that will reveal the magnitude of the theft in numbers. All right, let's see what else you're saying here. Jacob Abere says, on county revenue stalemate, there is emotive interest of national government killing devolution. I and majority of Kenyans have seen the side His Excellency has taken. It's time we defend it or kill it before 2022. All right, let's see what else you're saying here. Engineer Lazaro says, Kenya soon might lose the war on graft just because of politics. Why only lawmakers affiliated to Tanga baying for CS Kagwe's blood? All right. And there's still one more here that I need to read. Abdullahi Bash says, KEMSA saga is a show of lack of shame in our public service, lack of ideals and values amongst Kenyans in every sector. NYS 1 and 2, corruption dragon, is so entrenched in our governance that fighting it requires Jesus to be in Kenya. Individuals have no manners. That's what he says there. And Jacob Abere says, on this COVID-19 scandal, I summarize to say, deny, deny, deny until the goose comes home. That is what you're saying there. And let's see, there's still a lot more coming through, but we're really running out of time here. Let's see if I can squeeze in one or two more. And Moses Gidunga says that there's only just politics in this entire conversation on corruption. That's what you're saying there. And also we have, let's see if you have another one here before we call it a day. And Engineer Lazaro, we've already gone through your tweet, and we see here, Brown Baranga says, you can't ask people to resign without doing exhaustive evidentiary trail. Okay? All right. Thank you so much for all the feedback here. That is where we leave it for now. This is